every moment, you choose who you want to be and how you want to live your life. It is your ultimate power and your inescapable responsibility. You are the master of your reality. It doesn't always feel that way, though, right? I mean, too often, we believe the awful fictions of our fears. We believe our misguided assumptions and our faulty logic. We surrender to our self-limitations. We misperceive success and value. We misperceive luck in our lives. We fail to listen to each other and to our own hearts, and we perpetuate our insecurities and vanities. How can we take control, creating the lives we want for ourselves with awareness and with accountability? That's the question we tackle in this interview series, Mastering Your Reality. We consider the question with remarkable people who clearly have a lot to teach us on the subject. Today's guest is one such person. Michelle Gielan is one of the experts on positive psychology. She began her career in broadcast journalism. She was an acclaimed journalist for CBS News, anchoring 2 national programs, a dream job for many, but not so much for her, a subject we'll get back to later. After leaving journalism, Michelle studied under acclaimed researcher Marty Seligman and became, as I said, one of the experts in the field of positive psychology, and ultimately the founder of the Institute for Applied Positive Research. Michelle, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks, Isaac. It's great to be here with you.
Awesome. Now, you've said, and I hope I'm getting the quote right, happiness doesn't just happen. It takes attention. Now, I could not agree more with that concept. It really is, in many ways, it resonates with sort of the core idea of my eyes wide open vision on life, on proactively creating the reality we want for ourselves. A lot of your work, a lot of your research is just that, shows us the concrete, specific ways that we can, proactively control how we take in information, how we process information, how we project that information, really to influence ourselves and those around us. I want to start. There's so much we could talk about, and if it's not obvious, I'm a little starstruck talking to you here. But
feelings mutual. So there you go.
So I'll start with let's return back to that subject of the news, and in particular, bad news, and how potentially some of our rituals in terms of how we start our day can really have a lasting and negative impact on our lives.
Yeah, well, I love what you said in the introduction about we can believe any number of perceived realities, and that's at the core of my research. And one area, because my background's in broadcasting, is I've looked at the way that the news shows us what the world could be like, right? For good and for bad, mostly not really for good these days. And then I'm being nice. And then and then what that basically does to our brain. So, for instance, we looked at this idea of when you start your day with news, what does that do to you? And what we found, I partnered up with Ariana Huffington and also my husband and fellow researcher Sean Acor, and we looked at the influence of 3 minutes of negative news on the brain. And what we found is if you start your day with those 3 minutes, it can actually increase your chances of having a bad day by 27%. And that's as reported 6 to 8 hours later. So what that means is the news can act like a poison pill first thing in the morning instead of a vitamin, and you're still feeling the effects as you're cooking dinner with your family later that night. What I'm interested in is not so much the negative effects of negative news on us, but how we can, for instance, talk about negative events in our lives in ways that leave us feeling empowered, ready to take action, ready to move forward. How can we mine the data in our existence and find that reality that you're talking about that fuels us, that lets us move forward? And actually, in a follow-up study, we found that if you don't just focus on the problems, but when you're faced with a negative event, you start looking at potential or actual solutions that you could take right now, it makes you smarter. And in particular, it increases your creative problem solving by 20%. It improves your mood significantly. And so it shows us that there is a better formula for staying involved and engaged with the news or negative events at our companies, like restructuring or mergers that we don't know what's happening. We just have to do it in a specific way in order to fuel our performance and success.
Yeah, and for folks who are interested, both of those studies that Michelle talks about were described at length in the Harvard Business Review. I urge you to check them out. It's great work. With sort of switching gears to the second study you discussed, and how the way we package sort of bad news and share it with others can influence not only their realities but our own, in the sense that it can either promote or inhibit the sort of productivity or the progress that we are ultimately going for. I think it's interesting in a lot of ways. Your research kind of proves the idea: if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And for managers who are trying to lead their teams through tough times, it shows us we can talk about the negative. We just have to move the brain from problem to action. We did a study that I found the results so fascinating. It was about our response to stress, because we wanted to understand, beyond those typical things that are stressing us out, how can we look more globally at the way we're just responding to stress and then hopefully improve that response in order to fuel our success? What we found is that 91% of us could actually respond to stress better. And in particular...
And the other 9% are lying?
Yeah. Very good, yeah. And the main pitfall that people experienced was this concept of they got stuck in the problem. We're ruminating. And listen, I say they, but like I've gotten caught too, right? All of us at some moment. It's just whether this is a predominant response that we have. And so what happened was, people were reporting ruminating, thinking over and over and over about the problem. They're not able as quickly as they could to get their brain to start focusing on what we can do about it. And that's kind of where we came up with this idea of the now step, which we often talk about in our talks at companies, which is, you get the brain to focus on one small, meaningful action you can take right now to start solving the problem, right? It doesn't have to solve the entire problem. That would be lovely if you can find that solution. But in the meantime, just kick your brain into the action phase, get that small win, and then hopefully that'll spur more positive action and get you to what you're looking for.
And you're not going to get from A to Z if you don't get from A to B anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
You better get going. It's fascinating. I love the way you authentically take the moment there to say, when I say they, I really mean we, right? Because of course, I resist a lot of folks. In your space and sort of thought leadership more generally, that present their findings as a sort of aha moment where a switch flips and there are no more difficulties forever in life. For me, I say it takes intention and purpose every day, and frankly, some days I'm pretty bad at it. But I love that your work, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but suggests that really this is about attention and being proactive and trying to manage your well-being.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I constantly try to impart on the folks that we work with is, this is an iterative process. All of these things that we talk about around mindset are malleable. If we're trying to improve our height, not going to happen probably, right? Unless we're 10. But for things like our optimism, our empowerment, our levels of, luck and being able to see these different pieces of our reality, all of that is malleable. It just takes attention and practice. So just like I try to hit the yoga mat regularly, I try to engage in these positive habits. And to, in regards to what you were saying earlier about those different realities that you can see, optimism is basically, in the midst of challenges, the belief that your behavior matters and the expectation of good things to happen. And so it's being able to see that more positive and fueling reality and then taking the steps to get to it. But optimism, which is so exciting, I think the most exciting piece about the research is that it shows us we can change our levels of optimism even if we practice pessimism for many, many years. Again, it just takes that time and attention.
Yeah. And for me, I always love to think, when I'm struggling or talking to others who are, you can always find in this world, people who have done far more with far less and been a lot happier, right? So, the difference has got to be somewhere in here, right? Not in the circumstances that we face.
Yes, so true.
Yeah. So, switching gears, we talk a lot about sort of stress and anxiety and the response to it. We've been talking about that. You've identified kind of like 3 axes or 3 dimensions of stress that you talk a bit about in your research. Do you mind telling us about those?
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at how you can, best respond to stress across these 3 dimensions. The first one is the one that I mentioned, whether you stay stuck in the problem or you actually move to an action plan. So it's really the creation of an action plan. The second one is, are you keeping things inside you, or are you communicating them to people you trust? So it was really interesting. There was kind of a bell curve around this one because you don't want to talk to too few people. You also don't want to talk to too many people. That's just wasting your time.
Yeah.
So
the bus driver doesn't care.
Yeah. So it's about having a few trusted folks that you can go to and you feel confident about opening up to them. Really, the key to that is you're building social connection in those moments. Social connection is the greatest predictor we have of long-term levels of happiness. And so the more that you can build those, the better off you are. And the third dimension is this idea of, are you staying calm when you're feeling that, or when you're encountering that stress, right? So is it one of those things where something comes down the pipeline, you see it coming, and your blood pressure spikes up, it ruins the rest of your day? Or are you saying, hey, you know what? I think I can handle this. I don't exactly know how. I don't know what the action plan is, but I feel calm through the process. And that actually correlates really nicely with some other research that we've done that have looked at the 3 greatest predictors of long-term levels of success at work. And one of the main ones is your response to stress, whether you view it as a threat, so your brain goes into fight or flight, or you view it as a challenge. The people who view it as a challenge, actually their brain gets turned on to its highest levels of potential. And in a study that Sean and a few of our research colleagues from Yale University did, they found that when they split stressed out managers into 2 groups and trained one experimental group to look at stress as a challenge, those folks with same levels of stress as everybody else ended up reporting a 23% drop in stress-related symptoms like headaches, backaches, and fatigue. So taken together, those 3 things, if we can work on those 3 dimensions, we can actually improve not only our well-being, but it also connects with higher levels of success at work. Because, and I mean, it's intuitive, but it's just seeing the data that I think is so compelling for me.
Sure. We can understand and manage what we can measure.
Yes, exactly. I love how you put that. Yeah.
So it being summertime, I was hoping we might leave folks with some homework that might not be too bad for them to take on in the arena of sort of stress and anxiety and productivity. And that's some of your work that you've done on the importance of taking those vacation days and using them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I encourage everyone, take your vacation. If there's ever a fear in your mind that says, I can't really get away, or if I take the vacation, when I come back, things won't be as good, right? Don't listen to any of that. Our research finds that if you can take typically a full vacation load over the course of your year, you really take your vacation days, that you come back to work and you're significantly more likely to get a promotion, you're more likely to get a raise. We found in particular that those folks who took 11 or more vacation days, if you have more, great, they came back with a 30% greater likelihood of achieving those positive outcomes. So please take your vacation days. And, actually one fun thing is on my autoresponder for my email. Yes. When I go on vacation, I now share a link to that Harvard Business Review article that we wrote about the data-driven case for vacation, and I've gotten more positive responses from people from that one email than like anything else I send out.
It's true. I mean, you've shown it. It's conclusive. It's undeniable. Taking vacation makes you better at your job, makes you more successful. Take your vacation.
Yes, exactly.
And yet, from 2000 to 2015, if I'm not mistaken, Americans are taking roughly a third less vacation, right?
Yeah, and they leave, I think it's something like billions of dollars of vacation days on the table. And the reason vacation is so powerful is that if you do it right, which, most of it is just mentally disconnecting from work, you're giving your brain a break. And our brain needs that break in order to come back stronger and better.
No doubt. Well, this has been as enjoyable as a phenomenal summer vacation.
Yay, awesome. Hey, for me too.
I enjoyed talking to you as always. I hope to do it again. Thank you for taking time. I know you are super busy. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Same here.